Welcome back to My Moment. Once again, you rocking with your boy Stay Humble, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Over the course of the next couple weeks, what we're going to do is share with you a bit about farming God's way. We're coming into the season. It's actually snowing here right now. That's why I'm in the car. I drove to this nice location hoping to record this outside, but it's extra cold and snowing. But we're coming into the season of doing our farming. And so I wanted to share with you a bit about farming God's way so that you could have a better understanding about farming God's way and decide whether or not you want to get involved, whether that be financially, whether that be lending your back, whether that be helping support a project or whatever. So just quickly, I want to read to you an illustration. And as we get to the end of the latter part of the week, you're going to see a sermon that I preached last Sunday sharing about farming God's way. So I want you to, let's start here. This whole walk, if you're a Christian, this whole walk, everything boils down to, when you read the Bible over and over again, like you'll see all of these different stories that they always come back to God asking, will you trust me? Here's what I say. Now, will you trust me? Will you do what I say? So that being said, God wants us to trust him. And if we trust him, then we need to obey, right? So I want you to understand, here's an illustration of kind of what we do with farming God's way as we go into a country and we work with farmers. So in farming God's way, we are asking a poor farmer to break tradition, okay, and turn away from everything he's known and practiced in farming his whole life. So basically, we're going in and we're asking a farmer, everything that you know, everything you've been taught, your tradition, what your mom taught you, what your grandfather taught you, everything you know about farming, stop doing that. Turn away from that, okay? Even though everybody else is doing it, stop doing it. Even though it has been failing him, this farming technique, this method has been failing him, he continues on. And he blames the land, he blames the seed, he blames the fertilizer, global warming, and even his ancestors, and they do have ancestor worship. So the blame goes on everything that is going into this farming, right? All, you know, the practices, it's everybody else's fault, all right? But understand, tradition says this is the way it's always been done. This is how we do it. Now, if nothing changes, this poor farmer and his family, at best, they'll be stuck in poverty. At worst, they'll die of starvation. Now, this isn't like, hey, let's hype it up so that everybody feels bad. This is a real story. So in 2016, when I first went to Malawi, I was in Brother Dixon's village near the Shiri River. And down in that village, when we went, this was April of 2016, 3 people in this village had already died of starvation. So this is not, you know, trying to hype it up, but this is real talk, okay? So if nothing changes with their farming and the production that they're getting, they're either going to stay stuck in poverty or die. Now, this farmer still continues on doing the same thing over and over again without considering, what if all that I knew about farming was wrong? What if all that I had been taught, what if my traditional farming practices, everything that I've been shown to do, all that I've known to do, what if all of that was actually causing the soil to become less fertile? What if the problem isn't my ancestors or global warming, but what if it's my way of farming? What if I'm the problem? Could it be me? So the farmers don't consider the fact that maybe they're the problem. Now, for us, it's very easy to see, well, wait, if you're not producing nothing, then something's wrong, right? Super easy to see that. If you're not eating, your family is starving, something's wrong. But I want to do something. Let's look at Matthew chapter 7, verses 3 through 5. And I want you to see this. Matthew 7, 3 through 5 says this. Verse 3, why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Why do you see the speck that's in your brother's eye, but not the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, First, take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Jesus says, it's easy to see the speck in somebody else's eye. So when we look at this as a farming illustration or metaphor, it's very easy to see, oh my gosh, yeah, they just need to change what they're doing, right? But what if we weren't talking about farming, but instead talking about our way of living? What if farming God's way wasn't just about a farming technique, but it was more about living God's way? So I want you to understand, farming God's way is really about a restoration of relationship. Okay? It's really about bringing man back to God in the garden. So on our next episode, we're going to start there at Genesis chapter 2 and look at what God's original design was and how we can get back to that. So God bless you guys, man. Thank you for tuning in. This is your moment.